What's going on, everyone? So, the Brooklyn Nets and Los Angeles Lakers building relationships. Did a whole video on that. Kind of keep an eye on the Brooklyn Nets. Go check out that video after this one, of course. But Sean Marks recently even spoke on Rob Pelinka and how, they were able to get the deal done, how it really worked out. Sean Marks and Rob Pelinka have a good relationship dating back to the Kyrie days, right? The only reason the Kyrie deal didn't get done was not because of Sean Marks and the Lakers, it's because of Joe Tsai, the owner of the Brooklyn Nets. He didn't want to send Kyrie to the Lakers. So he said, next best offer, take it. And that was Dallas, right? Which, Kyrie, you could argue, still ended up winning because he was just in the NBA Finals. But nonetheless, right, you look at kind of Dorian Sharpe, look at how, the Lakers got Dorian Finney Smith. It was why didn't they get Dorian in that trade, right? Lakers need another center, a backup center. Tons of reports that the Lakers are interested in centers, right? They recently touched base with Nikola Vucevic, or Chicago about Nikola Vucevic, right? Okay, he come in, slot in, be your center. Obviously, Jonas Valanciunas, Robert Williams, right? There's these names that keep getting floated around at the center spot. And Dorian Sharpe was one of those names that the Lakers were supposed to be interested in. Supposedly, you can have him for a couple seconds. How true is that, right? And it's well, you got the deal done for Dorian Finney Smith. Why not get Dorian in place of a Shake Milton or even add it on, right? If you said hey, you threw 2 more seconds and you traded all 5 seconds and you got Dorian Finney Smith, Dorian Sharpe, and Shake Milton, we all would have been let's go, Rob. We all would have been thrilled. And you still have your first and everything like that. And you still make other moves. Why wouldn't you do something like that? So the question becomes was that really a move that's on the table, right? So the Nets want to completely tear it down and rebuild. Dorian Sharpe's 23 years old. Are they looking at it as hey, he's young enough to kind of be a foundation piece going forward? Is his asking price maybe more than what was reported, right? Just because reports came out that he may be able to be had for 2 seconds doesn't mean that's the case. Maybe they want a first or a pick swap or something like that. Maybe the Lakers, they were just kind of hey, let's see what's out there. Clearly, they want, if they're asking about Nikola Vucevic, there's the idea of a higher end center, right? So maybe they're kind of playing with that idea and wanted to be patient. Dorian Sharpe's probably going to be there, come the trade deadline or around the trade deadline. So maybe you could go pull it off. Just because you traded with the Nets once doesn't mean you can't trade with them again. So kind of makes some sense. However, do the Lakers, and if they do go back to talking with the Brooklyn Nets, instead of trying to get Dorian Sharpe, do they go and get Nic Claxton, right? Do you, if you're the Lakers, say go trade for a Bruce Brown, right? Supposedly he can be had for 2 seconds. Lakers still have 2 seconds. Go make a move for Bruce Brown, and then try to pivot and make a move for Nic Claxton, right? Lakers would have their first. Couple things about that, okay? One, Nets want expiring contracts. Lakers are all out expiring contracts. Now, could you maybe get a third team involved where maybe you're sending some picks for a team to take on Rui or something? Possibly, and maybe they have expiring contracts, right? And Rui would be an expiring contract next season. So no long-term money, right? Where Nic Claxton's got a little more long-term. Do the Nets, supposedly everyone's available. There's no one off the table. But Nic Claxton's still young enough to where, he could be, if you spend 3-4 years kind of building out this roster and building out a contender, right? He could still be a part of that, right? He'd be, 29, 30, but you'd be in the right direction. I don't think that they wouldn't trade him. I just think it ultimately boiled down for cost, right? But, you look at Nic Claxton and the idea, him being 25, right? He could be your center for now and the future. Also, him alongside Anthony. We all saw what Bam Adebayo and Anthony Davis did. And look, I'm not saying that Nic Claxton is Bam Adebayo, but the defensive versatility, right? Saw it alongside Anthony Davis would be tough, would be insane. And, he's Nic Claxton isn't this dominant big man, right? He's not this guy that's out there giving you 20-10 and just doing all stuff. But defensively, rebound, he does everything that the Lakers need, right? So to kind of go over stats this season, 30 games played thus far. Oh, also, this is a guy who played 71 games last season, played 76 games the year before. So that's good. Things to kind of keep in mind. But he's playing 30 games thus far. Started in 22 of those games. He's averaging 26 minutes per game off the bench. He's shooting 55.3% from the field on 7.6 attempts. 3-point range, not really a 3-point shooter, doesn't really stretch the floor. But 2-point range, 57.6%, 7.2 attempts. EFG of 55.5%. Free throw line, this is where the problem lies. He's not a good free throw shooter by any stretch of the imagination. 54.3% on 2.3 attempts. Not great. 7.5 rebounds, which is actually down from the last 2 years in which he averaged 9. But his minutes and the amount of games he started and stuff like that have gone down. So that might be part of it. That is just production has gone down. Also, Noah Clowney has gotten a lot of time for them, which kind of makes me feel like Nic Claxton could be available. It might make more sense because with Clowney and then Dorian Sharpe, that could kind of be their big man duo for the future. But sticking with that, assists, 2 assists, a steal, a block, and 9.7 points. So he's basically a 10 and 8 guy right now in 25 minutes of action. Right? But he's still 25 years old. He is making $27 million. So Lakers would have to send out, $28 million, right? Maybe 20, closer, maybe $30 million. Although they do have enough salary to now because of the previous Nets trade. So probably have to work out. It'd be complicated because you probably have to get a third team involved just based on what the Nets are looking for. But you're talking about, again, a 25-year-old versatile center. It shouldn't take both firsts. It shouldn't, right? He's not having a year good enough, and he's making $27 million. You could argue he's overpaid based on the production he's getting right now. But I think even with all those, I think that guy is in there, right? So, you look at previous years, he was, like last year, 12 and 10 guy. Year before that, 13 and 10 guy, right? Averaging two blocks per game. His production is just down this season. Right? You look at the previous 2 years, he's a double-double that gives you 2.5 blocks a game and a steal, right? And do a little bit of everything out on the basketball court, except for shoot. Like I said, not really a 3-point shooter, right? But you kind of look, right? He's making, like I said, he's making $27.5 million. So again, you got to send out, let's call it $28 million. But then you have other guys too. Maybe you do give both first, and can you get another piece? But unless you're getting Cam Thomas, which I don't know if they would trade him, right? Probably not doing something like that. Outside of that, it's who else do you want? Maybe Zaire Williams for just a young wing, but I don't think that's probably the last thing they want to do. Right? I just envision imagine Nick, we saw in the Olympics what a defensive center can do alongside Anthony Davis, how good that looked, right? And I'm just okay, well, we can't get Bam as much as I would love to get it, right? So who's somebody else that you could get that kind of give that? Jared Allen would make a ton. Jared Allen would be probably the closest thing, but a Nic Claxton isn't that far off, right? I look at Nic Claxton, I'm like, ooh. I don't think he's worth $27 million, if I'm being honest, right? That's my only dilemma is I do think he's overpaid, even at 12 and 12, right? If he's making about $20 million, there's there's centers right now that are, Nikola Vucevic you could have for $20 million and get him for 2 seconds. So there is an argument to be made of do you just go do that, right? But he's also not 25, he's 34, right? So he's literally 10 years older or 9 years older, So those are factors that you got to kind of look at and kind of weigh, okay, well, this and this. So to me, it's one of those things where it's if how much do you value that? Or do you kind of want to just get a center for now, right? Because, look, Lakers are willing to trade for Walker Kessler, who's, 23? He's 2 years younger. Right? He's better rim protector, but he's not as mobile as, a Nic Claxton, right? Again, there's pros and cons either way, however you look at it. But also, Walker Kessler's making $3 million. Nic Claxton's making $27 million. Or I think he's making just under $4 million. But Nic Claxton, again, so it's just how do you want to structure this? But I just think about it. I'm just man, let's say you go get a Bruce Brown, right? If you were to get a Bruce Brown and then go trade and pivot and get a Nic Claxton, and then you have basically your roster and any variation is Nick, you have Nic Claxton. You'd have to start, although he's came off the bench for the Nets. Do you maybe bring him off the bench for now and just go with again, say you do a Bruce Brown, go Bruce Brown, Austin Reeves, Dorian Finney Smith, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis, and then bring in like whatever, Dennis Smith Jr. With Dalton Connect, Cam Reddish at that point, because you probably have to trade Jared Vanderbilt and everybody. Christian Wood and Nic Claxton. Not bad. And then, like, you could have different units. And, I mean, like, you could always swap guys. So, like, you know, say you're playing the Cavs again, right? I know they don't anymore, but just humor me. Let's say you're playing the Cavs again, right? Well, you could now plug in Claxton alongside Anthony Davis and go with, like, you know, Dorian and have Reeves play the point for that game. Or, you know, maybe I would actually take out Reeves and just go defensively, right, at that point. But, you know, the Lakers probably wouldn't do something like that. But just gives you that versatility in your roster, period, but your starting unit also. I don't know, I was just, like I said, I was just kind of going over the center spots, stuff and like that, and I was like, you know, Nic Claxton, right? Like, what would that cost? I wouldn't give both first for Nic Claxton, personally. Maybe you would. That's why this is always a discussion. So I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? What would you give up for Nic Claxton? Would you be willing to trade pretty much anything? Nothing? Again, if you could do it for like a first, even like a first and a pick swap, sure. Right? First and a pick swap, I'd do that. But both firsts, I wouldn't do it, personally. First and a pick swap, yeah, you got me sold. Right? But again, how you feel? Whatever your thoughts are. Let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you want to like this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. As we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.